my name is Chris H. Olsen, and thanks for watching Grow Your Garden on THV 11 Plus. Now, spring is right around the corner, so you know what that means. It's time to get out in your garden and get it prepared. But first, we're going to talk about the ideal time to trim your trees and your shrubs. Then we're going to talk about picking the right shrub for the right place. And last, we're going to talk about when you trim your shrubs and how to trim them.
We're here with Chris H. Olsen out in the weather garden. You know, this time of year, we're thinking about trimming back on certain things, and I know the crepe myrtles. I remember you talking.
There's a debate on
There
that.
is a debate on whether to trim your crepe myrtles back or not.
Yeah.
Chris H. Olsen, what is the word?
Well, I guess the thing to know is why do we trim back crepe myrtles?
Well, why do we?
Okay, well, two main reasons. Number one, if you plant them close to a house, sometimes they get too big,
Okay.
so we're going to contain their size.
All right.
Number two, if you do trim them, when they do bloom, the blooms will be a little bit longer and bigger.
Okay.
So that is a true thing. Now, my personal preference is I love a tree the way God intended it to be,
Yeah.
and let it to grow natural and as
Okay.
big as possible. That's what I like about crepe myrtles.
Now, Michael Bennett, I know you're in the control room. Whenever you get a chance, this tree over here is a crepe myrtle.
Huge
okay,
one.
so Michael Bennett will be pulling that up here in just a minute. It's this big, tall tree, but they're not that big at my house because we've trimmed them back
You
every
trim
year.
them back. Now, are they against your house, the trees?
No, they're
Okay.
up by the road.
Okay, so it's up to you if you want it to look like this.
Okay.
I would let it grow big, and sometimes you don't have to trim. If you do trim them back, we don't always trim all the way down to the stub of the plant. We might trim 3 foot off the top
Yeah.
and still keep the canopy.
I kind of try to go where the knuckles are. Is that the, I don't
Well,
know. What
I
do you
think
call
that's the knobs.
The knob,
Yeah,
okay.
and and some people cut below that, which you really do not want to do.
Okay.
So I try to just cut a couple feet off the top and not nub it down.
Okay.
And that makes the tree look a little bit more natural.
Okay, so
But it's up to
So
you.
you say to let them grow.
I like to let them grow the way, you can see where that one was trimmed at one time.
You're going to hate this, but I like to take my chainsaw and.
Yeah, you're one of those. Now, I'm a mad pruner myself, so I get it.
What about these hydrangeas back
Okay.
here? They look dead.
They look dead, but they are very much alive. Now, it depends upon the variety of hydrangea.
Yeah.
So, like these are PG hydrangea, which bloom on new wood.
Yeah.
So, we're going to trim those in half.
Okay, can we walk back here
yeah.
and you'll show us real fast? I'm blocking the camera shot here for a second.
So, I trim them, I'll just go like this.
Okay.
Boom. Boom.
Oh.
And I know you're like, oh my God, but here's what happens if you don't trim them, then they're just going to get way too big. They're going to get all into the holly and such.
So I'm just trying to pull this out to show. Okay,
Yeah.
so about that much right there.
Yeah,
is
it depends
trimmed.
upon the size of it. But if you trim it in half, is normally the rule.
Okay.
Now, they're going to put out a lot of new growth. With that new growth, since they bloom on new growth, you're going to get a lot more flowers. This is a plant you want to trim.
Now, what a great shot, Michael Bennett. I want to get in the weeds just a little bit. No
Okay.
pun intended. Does it matter the angle in which I cut? So, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm able to describe this. So
I can see what you're
Do you
saying.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Will that affect how that new growth will
Well,
grow?
there's two things you
Can
need
you
to do.
articulate that?
Yeah. Well, first you always want to cut above a bud union.
Okay.
Where the leaves are, not in the middle. So this one we're going to cut right above where the new growth is going to come out. Now, if
Does it matter the angle?
Well, if you have, and the bigger the plant, yes, because if you cut it at an angle, the water comes off.
Oh, okay.
See, when it rains, if you cut it flat, the water can sit and cause rot.
But that does not dictate on the angle at
No,
which the
not
new
at all.
growth will
Not
grow.
at all.
Okay.
Now, if you have the time to do that, it's okay if I don't.
Okay, last question I have for you. We're moving here. We're moving. Keep up with me here. I see some bulbs out here in the
Yes.
weather garden, and you said there's a reason these are sitting on top of the ground.
Well, they were planted,
They were.
but we have little squirrels that, they don't necessarily eat them, but they'll dig them up.
Okay.
And so you can replant them.
All right, so I'm noticing there's some growth on top of this. What's the proper way of dealing with this? You just sink them down?
Yep.
I don't know.
You normally want to plant a tulip. Now, tulip bulbs we treat as annuals. They don't bloom strong the next year.
Okay.
So I don't plant them terribly deep, but 6 inches is the rule, but you can go about to 4 inches is okay. And usually the last time you want to plant your bulbs, really no later than mid-December.
So it's too late to do it now.
When I'll tell you why. If you still have them, you haven't planted them, you can go ahead and plant them, but they're going to have to root out first. And then once they put their growth, which is going to take about 8 weeks in total for them to do all that, we're going to be now into our April and starting our May period before they bloom, which is hot. We start warming up.
Oh, I see.
And they don't bloom in time.
They're not going to be super healthy
So,
at that time.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they'll burn up.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to all the growth that's happening. You know, I'm seeing stuff already coming up. They're about to get shocked here, but you know, it is what it is.
Okay. Well, you know, first of all, when you feed the birds, we don't think about it, but when we had our snow and such, birds can't get to the ground, so they really can't get their food.
Right.
So you'll start noticing them in your bushes, and they're eating your berries and stuff like that, and especially when you have the big flocks of birds, you know, as they're flying
Right.
back, they will come down to my house. I plant all these hollies. Hollies produce the most berries.
Okay.
And I have Savannah hollies, and they just cover them, and within half an hour, they all fly away, and everything's gone. But it was so fun to know that you're feeding the birds.
Yes.
So I brought some shrubs that are not only beautiful in the landscape with their foliage and their flowers and their texture, but also berries. And of course,
Okay.
the first one next to you is the holly.
Right.
All
We
different
all-
hollies produce berries.
Okay.
And the great thing about hollies is a majority of the holly varieties are male and female. So they not only bloom, but they also produce berries, and they can pollinate their own flowers.
Okay, even better.
Yeah, so you don't need a whole bunch of hollies in your yard. You can just have one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it'll make more.
Yep. And then this one over here is a ground cover shrub. Now, if you have a rocky area and you wanted a shrub to weep down and cover the area, this is called Contoni aster.
Okay.
And this little berries look like cranberries. It produces berries right now. Beautiful and great for the birds. This is yew. I love the yew. If
I
you
love
have-
that one.
If you
I
have a
love
sh-
you too.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I couldn't help
a little
myself.
sunshine to
That's
my
right.
cloudy day.
I'm trying. It's been a heavy day.
But the yew is wonderful because look at this texture, how beautiful it is. So many different varieties, but yews do produce berries.
Okay.
Great for shady areas where you can't get most shrubs to grow. This is Ardisia, which is a ground cover. It's a little burnt from the cold weather. That's okay, but you can see it has berries.
Yeah, see that?
so-
I didn't know so many things had berries.
Oh my God, so many. Mahonias, acubas, which also come in variegated, roses. You know, the rose, these see little berries? These
Yep.
are rose hips, and birds eat those.
Okay.
They actually have a sweet taste. And then cherry laurels, they produce tons of berries and seed everywhere. But if you just plant different varieties of plants, some taller, some lower, and trees, so that they can camouflage themselves, birds, and feed you, they really do eat all your berries in the wintertime.
Well, what I love about these is sometimes when you think about flowers themselves, it can make me a little nervous. Like I like a good shrub with textures and things like that. So it's, I think, probably a little bit easier for folks to take care of as well.
Yes, you know, it's hard. You know, a lot of times plants don't have always beautiful flowers, but they do have the texture
Right.
and the color and the foliage and such, and that makes them a little bit more easier to grow.
That's neat. And so you don't think about the birds; they do need that. So it's
They
something, and
do.
it'll attract to your yard as well. And so it's something enjoying for us.
Absolutely, it attracts all different wildlife, and when you do it, you'll notice it. If you watch out your window, you'll start seeing the birds eat it. This time of year is when they eat
Right.
it, and you're going like, I'm going to plant more next year.
It's approaching that time of year that you need to start trimming your shrubs, but not all of them. Chris H. Olsen's going
right.
to tell us how not to kill our shrubs.
And, you know, and there's important things to do, so we're going to put you two to the test.
Okay, let's
So I
do
got 3 groups of 2 plants.
Yes.
And we're going to go
Three
from
groups
one
of 2
set to the
plants.
other set, and you guys got to tell me which one you should trim or can't trim, or maybe both of them you can't trim.
Okay.
And whoever wins gets the most gets to take one of these home. Okay. So
Can we phone a friend?
No, it's too late. It's too late.
Chris H. Olsen
So
is the friend.
We got
Yes.
these 2 hydrangeas. So
Right.
which of these 2 would you want to trim now and not trim now?
When you say now, meaning as ending of summer?
Yeah, from August through September,
Okay.
so the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, so don't make fun of me. I'm going to say trim this one.
Okay, I have seen my neighbor who
Ah.
loves to garden out here clipping these, and they're
Yes.
collecting them.
Okay. Okay, so she's using them as floral inside. Okay, that's okay to do, but technically, both of these you should not be trimming this
I
time
knew
of
it.
year.
All right.
I know you're looking at me like I'm not going to cheat.
Yep.
Anyhow, because these are still blooming. These are summer bloomers, the PG
Right.
hydrangea, or this is a limelight, and so we want to keep these blooming, and they bloom on new wood. So these you trim in February.
Okay.
Not this year. This is the old-fashioned mop top, which bloom on old wood, so you do not want to trim them now because otherwise you sacrifice flowers
So
in
the
spring.
answer is neither.
Yep.
No.
So, okay, so far you're tied.
Okay.
All
All right.
Now we got these
We're both
2.
losers.
We got our Japonica camellia, which you know blooms, of course, in the winter, and then we have our evergreen yew.
All right, so this blooms in the winter, and then our Utopia yew, like I know what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to say neither one again. I'm
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with this one.
That
Trim it now.
Okay. You're both wrong. Okay, the evergreen, you can go ahead and trim those any time of year, but normally once we get towards November, we stop trimming. We do our last trim on evergreens. Now, this is going to be a winter bloomer, so if you trim it now, what are you going to do? You're going to
Okay.
sacrifice the
sense.
buds that it's developing right now.
I listened to that part. That's
Okay,
why I said
I
that about
know,
that
I
when
know.
I was paying
Okay,
attention.
so we
All right.
still got hope.
Okay.
Okay, so we got our grass and our azalea.
All
so
right.
which one can you trim now, and which one should you not trim now?
I'm going to say you trim this one.
Okay.
Just to make things interesting, I'll go with the other one.
Okay, well, you won.
Yes!
Okay, so
I love it.
even though the
So excited,
even though the
yes.
grass is starting to bloom, it's a grass like a lawn. If it gets too big for the space, you can trim the sides, or if you want, trim it now, and it will still go ahead and have its seed heads coming up in November.
Yeah.
This is an azalea. Azaleas bloom when? In spring.
in spring.
So you do not ever want to trim spring blooming plants after July.
All right.
Once again, my neighbors that are out here collecting things are like, you need to start doing things around your house.
I know. We do provide services, Adam.
That's good to know.
Next, we're going to talk about prepping your garden for spring, making your flower beds flourish, and bringing spring indoors.
And talking about, because I want to get green beans. King green beans are the best.
You're making me hungry.
I
I just want to
know.
let you know
We've
that.
been talking about food.
No.
Chris H. Olsen is here, though, talking about getting your garden started because of spring just around the corner.
Yep,
It's
we're
time.
getting anxious. We're getting anxious, you know, and here's the thing, you're getting anxious and you can start doing your seeds coming up. So everyone's itching to do something. So we're going to talk about seeds. The first thing is we have these both Plantopia botanica. These are, look at these.
These are
the
cute.
coolest things. These are seed lollipops. Now you do not eat these, but you take off the wrapper and we have vegetables and this is a flour mixtures. You stick them upside down in the
this?
soil with your stick sticking up.
Okay.
And it will have a little bit of a garden all around it.
Oh,
It
how
is
cute.
awesome.
So you just plant this.
Yep, plant it. You can take off the wrapper.
Right.
Plant it. Give it a good shot of water, and before you know it, within just about 2 or 3 weeks, all the seeds
How
start coming up.
cute.
And I tried this, and it really does
This is
work.
wildflower butterfly blend.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I
So
love
nice
that.
variety.
Yeah.
You got Black-Eyed Susan, you got Snapdragon, Sweet William.
All perennial.
So cute.
So you have them
That's
year after
also
year.
good, yeah.
Yep, and we have them in vegetables too. Now, if you're going to do it the old-fashioned way, there's a couple other things you can do how to grow your seeds. First thing is, if you are a person that likes to eat sprouts and
Yes.
things like that, bean sprouts and stuff, we have the seed sprouter.
Okay.
So this is great not only to germinate seeds, but it's designed for sprouts to eat. So it's like its own little greenhouse.
Okay.
It comes with directions. You fill it with water. We sell all the different types of seed sprouts. I know you don't like beans, so you might not
Skip
want
that one.
skip that one, but that's good. And then let's say you want to go different seeds, and you were talking about
I was
pumpkin
like, what
seeds.
is pumpkin doing out here?
I'm going to tell you something. Last year, I grew pumpkin seeds, and I used a good soil. This is a actual soil for cuttings and seed, so it's sterile. It's very, very clean. I planted just 2 4-inch pots of pumpkins along my driveway. Those 2 plants got 80 foot across by 15 foot wide, and I
Wow.
had 35 pumpkins.
What?
Just off of
Pumpkins
one
are hard to
see a picture of
grow.
this.
No, well, here's the thing about pumpkins.
They die.
They get borers real easy.
I thought you were going to say they get bored.
Beetles. So you have to spray them with an insecticide each week
Yes.
to keep them clean. Otherwise, they won't survive.
That's what
Okay.
happened because
Yep.
I was growing a pumpkin, had a big vine with several pumpkins, and they didn't last.
Yeah,
long.
so they got the borers in them,
Yes.
and that's by moths. Moths lay the eggs, especially at night. So just so
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotta spray 'em.
But remember, when you get your seed, what I always do before I put them in a pot, I take a slow release fertilizer. This is Osmocote, and I mix that in. If you want to just stir that in. And that helps feed the roots as they develop, makes them stronger when you transplant them outside. And then you can take any small type of pot, and you can get the peat pots that decay too, you know, or leftover plastic pots that you had. You always want to press the soil down to make sure you get all of the air pockets out.
That's very important.
Yep, read the directions because they're going to tell you only need a couple seeds per pot. and then let them root. About 2 to 4 weeks is when you got to give them time to grow before you put them out in the garden.
Gotcha. Okay.
So do you have to get specifically soil that is for seeds?
Well, some soils have lots of vermiculite in it, or real heavy.
Yeah.
Cheap potting soil is not good.
Okay.
So like this one's
See, that'd be the
fertile.
route I would take. I'd be like, just put in
You're
potting soil.
gonna get the 98-cent bag. You know, when you
Saving
water
money.
it leaves out black. No.
Oh.
Yeah, just make sure you get good. It doesn't have to be cedar cut in soil, but they have engineered it to make it easier on you in small bags.
So it's a good time to do this now?
Coming
Are
up
we
right
worried
now.
about freezes?
Well, you
That's
want
the
to put
whole
them
thing.
out.
I do want to mention that
Yeah.
because usually our last freeze here in Central Arkansas is about mid-March. But back in 2018, we had a freeze here April 16th.
Uh-oh.
That's right. So, but
He's like, oh, I know.
But the thing is, buy your seeds now because the selection goes quickly.
Oh,
So this
gotcha.
is the best selection.
This is my favorite thing I've seen in a long
That's
time.
for you. Here's a gift for you. You can pick
Oh.
whatever flavor you want.
Whatever
okay.
flavor of flower I'd like. This is so amazing. And where can you plant these? Is there a certain place that you really need to be aware?
Most of these are all full sun, and of course, most plants like good drainage. So it's a very heavy clay area. You may want to prep the soil first,
Okay.
then plant your lollipop or your regular seeds, and let it go.
And I'm glad you're here because I was telling you, I just went and trimmed my crepe myrtles.
I know,
and
I'm
doing some-
impressed.
But I'm like, my flower beds are lacking
Yes.
right now, and I don't know how to fix it.
Well, I'm going to bring you some fluff and fillers.
Okay, good.
So, and some of these are sun, some of these are shade, and these are all easy plants that anyone, including you,
I can plant
can
these?
grow. And these are perennial, except for one of them,
Okay.
which means they come back every single year.
Wow.
Some of them are evergreen. So I'm going to start with a few things. Now, if you like, I like aggressive plants. So I like plants that fill a flower bed. 'Cause,
Right.
You know, the fuller a flower bed is, the less maintenance it is.
Yeah.
Opposite of what people think, because it drowns out your weeds.
Okay.
So you don't have to weed. This one is called Mexican petunia. It's just about to bloom. It's not like the old-fashioned petunia. It is a perennial. It will get at least twice the size, height of this, but will spread. This one plant will probably get 10 foot by 10 foot space.
Wow.
And it blooms all summer long. The hotter it is, the better it grows.
Really?
But there is a dwarf variety. It comes in dark purple, a pink, and a white. So
Okay.
Mexican petunia. Now, one of my favorites are salvias. Now, this salvia is called Midnight Blue.
That's
and it
beautiful.
is a perennial. And it will get about 30 inches tall
Okay.
and about 30 inches wide, but it blows in the wind like this. So it has texture and movement in the flower bed all summer long, and an awesome pollinator.
Okay.
Bees, hummingbirds, all will be attracted to your garden, including
Cool.
butterflies.
Nice.
And it comes back strong every single year. So I use it as a backdrop plant because it gets tall and it adds great movement.
That's what I was wondering, like, how do you layer this out to where it looks like you have some depth in your, I
Well,
guess that's,
you always hear tall go down
Yeah.
smaller towards the audience. I kind of slightly play by that rule.
Okay.
I mix and match. I love to pack a flower bed.
Okay.
And I will just do different heights and mix them too, and it just tends to work. But technically, if you have a pathway, you do want your shorter plants along the pathway.
Right, makes
so,
sense.
And
Okay.
so, speaking of shorter plants, we have lots of different ground covers. This is hot sun. This is sedum, ogon. This is red dragon. These guys are perennials in bloom. If you have a shady area and want a ground cover, especially between like stepping stones, this is mazis, which comes with a blue flower that you can see and white as well. Easy to grow and spreads throughout the garden. Doesn't look like much right now, but this is catmint, and catmint
Okay.
is awesome. It blooms and looks just like English lavender, but English lavender does not grow well here in the South. It doesn't look like much now, but it's going to be about 12 inches in bloom. Add some tickweed or coreopsis. This one's called golden bronze, great color. And this is one of my favorite. This is salvia, which is an annual, meaning it will not come back, but it's called
Okay.
skyscraper for a reason,
Ah.
because it will get about 4 foot tall, and I'm telling you what, it comes in purple, it comes in orange, pink, and red, and it blooms all summer long.
Nice.
Great movement in the garden.
It's feeling like winter in the studio, but
It's
it feels like
cold.
spring outside. Chris
a little
Olsen
cold.
returns with a plan to bring the flourishing colors of spring indoors, just like Steamroller Blues they were talking about. Color is in.
In fashion and inside. Right now we're going through those, we want spring so bad, but we still know cold weather is on its way. But
Don't
you can
say,
bring.
you better shut your mouth.
You better.
Don't talk
Well,
about that.
I'm a realist. I'm a realist.
We don't want to talk
okay?
about cold weather.
Trust trust me, anybody, I want spring to come fast.
I'm sure.
You know.
Grow these plants
That's
that you're
right.
selling.
But we need to, just like the clothes can elevate your mood, so can indoor plants that bring a lot of color.
Absolutely. Like at my house, I always have a couple pots. I always have something blooming in it. Not for anybody else, but for myself, because it really does put a smile to your face. So I brought things that are easy to grow. That's the number one key, but they bring color.
For me, that's important.
I'm going to start with the Rieger begonias. These are awesome. Look at the colors.
So
They look
gorgeous.
They're real and they're so easy. They'll
these are
bloom
begonias.
inside for like 3 to 4 months.
Really?
Really strong. And all I do is they're 6-inch. I'll drop them in another pot and just sit them like that. Bright, indirect light. Keep them moist. I water mine once a week, and they will bloom like this for months.
What? Okay, I will take all 3 of these.
Yeah,
These are
and
so
these are great
gorgeous.
Valentines, by the way.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
it's something that lasts for months instead of just a week of cut flowers.
I
I
agree.
love the Rieger begonias, and then you can add different foliage plants, which have different colors to them, different textures. This pothos is on a pole, so it
love
adds the
that.
height. I love the prayer plant with the glossy, shiny foliage and the purple in it.
This looks fake too. I mean, this,
It looks
these are
fake,
so
but this is
perfect.
all real. And then the calantros are wonderful. You can find these sometimes in the grocery stores, but we carry them all the time. They come in an assortment of bright colors, you know, the oranges and the yellows. Remember, yellow is the number one color, happy color. So if you always add yellow, it does make you feel good.
This is such a pretty color
Okay,
here.
this is called cyclamen, and cyclamen are great because they can go in a semi-shady area inside. They are a tubular bulb, and you just water them once a week. The key thing is not to overwater them, and they'll bloom for weeks inside. And then I brought different bromeliads. We were familiar with the torch one, the torch orange.
I love this because it's tropical looking.
Tropical looking, and again, it blooms for months.
And
But
I
then
wanna
there's
be in the
also
tropics.
these. These are lower, but they're not about the flower. They're about the foliage. Tricolor, and these are sister plants to it with really cool color. And then one of my favorite indoor plants is the Rex begonia.
Why is that your favorite?
Because the foliage, and there's so many different varieties about it. You know, you just get attracted to certain things. And so I like to drop them in clay pots, and then I'll mix a couple varieties together, and they'll bloom. I mean, they'll bloom probably in about a month or 2, but it's the foliage that they're known for.
I'm about to ask a tough question, and we don't have a lot of time for this, but how do you know if your house is a good candidate for nice indoor plants? Because I'm like, I don't know where I would put any of this.
Well, it's about light.
Okay.
So you need not full sun. You just need bright
I'm
light.
sure he could find a place in one of his many main rooms to put a
many,
plant.
many.
what about artificial lights? Is that okay or no?
Yeah, artificial light is great. You know, bathrooms sometimes don't have windows. So if you have a little lamp that you have plugged in next to the sink, I do that. I'll put a plant next to that so it gets the light.
Okay.
So, and there are low.
But you have a lot of
required
windows.
points
I do.
Yeah.
in all his rooms.
In all of his rooms, he has a lot.
I shouldn't
He has
have
a
never said
lot
that.
of windows in his house of many rooms. So where can people find you?
You know, I'm at Botanica Gardens. Also, we have a garden center in North Little Rock called Plantopia.
And they're a little different, got a little different vibe.
Yeah, Botanica is kind of a boutique, and Plantopia is a 7-acre garden center, so it's much larger. But you can catch me at chrisholsen.com.
There you go. All right. So, of course, the Edgemont house is yours, and you've got to check that out. It's gorgeous. It has many rooms,
We're
just like
doing
Adam's
some
house.
changes in the many rooms of it right
Are
now.
you?
Yeah.
Can we come do a tour again?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll look good. Thanks for watching Grow Your Garden on THV 11+. And be sure to tune back in for the latest tips on garden care, only on THV 11+.